remember when I really started learning about, psychopathology and whatever mental kind of illness or that kind of thing. And I had been studying Buddhism for a number of years, and this idea of delusion, right? It's very central in Buddhism, right? That we're all delusional in so many ways. Or another way to say that is ignorant of what's happening in our own experience. So what brings me to, thank you for sharing that, brings me to so why the hell are we doing this? Like, why do you sit at home or listen to apps, or you're like, why meditate at all? Like, what's the fucking point, right? I have some thoughts about that. I mean, we all have whatever motivated us to first start meditating, right? Can you just kind of say one word of like what that was for you? Just out loud, just like popcorn it. Despair. Desperation. This is the right room.
Deal.
What's that? Deal. Uh-huh. Clarity. Yeah. Pain. Insanity. Uh-huh. Yeah. So that was maybe some of the beginning motivation, the inspiration perhaps. We have to have that. There's this saying in Tibetan Buddhism, and it's like a prayer. It's like, may you have the appropriate amount of suffering so that you'll wake the fuck up. May you have the appropriate amount of suffering, that without the experience of suffering, what the hell would we be motivated for? Despair, to deal, cope, stress. We usually want the opposite, insanity. Right? This idea of, I'm out of control. And that might not be true for everyone in this room or everyone, tuning in or whatever. Like maybe it's like, oh, I just wanted to calm my mind, or I'm just really interested, or somebody told me that meditation is good for you. My therapist was like, you should really meditate. It lowers anxiety. I believe that all that the Buddha is really trying to teach is to experience what is being experienced as it's happening, and then move on. And then with the next moment, the next mind moment, the next day, the next breath can be experienced fully, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And that's actually kind of nibbana, right? The extinguishing of the flame, nirvana, what we call enlightenment, means, whatever is happening in our moment to moment experience is just experienced as it is, with no extra layers. And that doesn't mean it's going to be happy, happy, joy, joy all the time, pleasant. It's just not reality. And it doesn't mean it's going to be deep, despair, depression, pain all the time. And it means that sometimes it's going to just kind of be boring too. And can we just be with being bored also? That's actually what the Buddha, that's my interpretation. That's what I have experienced in studying Buddhism and studying the suttas and my own practice. The Buddha is saying, be with what is as it is, with no extra layers, and you'll be free. And then he formulated all these teachings and techniques to give people the same message over and over and over again. That if we really think about it, most of what we call suffering or dissatisfaction or mental anguish is actually unattended past experiences that we've tried to avoid most often. And we do that. I mean, how many times did you do that today? Right? I do it, and the shitty part or the good part is that now I know that I'm doing it. I'm like, I'm fucking doing it again. I'm not wanting to experience this moment. And so what am I doing? I'm distracting myself with, Instagram, or I'm thinking about some pleasurable experience in the future I'm going to have, or, and just whenever we can recognize that, the soonest that we can come back. And if this can, I think it's important to try this on really little areas, like little moments, and that's why this sitting meditation can be so useful. I once had a teacher, this was when I was studying Zen, who said, there's nothing that you can't experience right here on the cushion. Like everything, you can find out all that you need to know about coping and dealing with life just sitting. I mean, he didn't even use that many words. He was just like, there's nothing you can't know by sitting. And I was like, And I kind of gave it a try for a little while. Then I went distracting myself here and there, and but as I've sat longer retreats or this has been kind of decades of kind of touching into the practice, pulling away from the practice, touching into the practice, doing long retreats, short retreats, day longs, meditating regularly at home, not meditating at all for weeks at a time. So much of this, I feel like, is about attending to the wound. Tending to the wound. So the Buddha formulated a pretty standard linear strategy for people's minds to wrap around, called the Four Noble Truths. And the Four Noble Truths, well, I'm going to give a couple different translations. First Noble Truth: there's something not quite right here. There's something not quite right here. Here being the human realm, here being the human experience, but basically, this plane of existence in the kind of full Buddhist psychological kind of form. Something not quite right here. We call it dissatisfaction, we call it stress, we call it anxiety, we call it mental illness, we call it addiction, we call it so many fucking things, right? My favorite, when talking about greed, hatred, and delusion within Buddhism, they talk about, there's this word kilesa. And it reminds me a little bit of Game of Thrones, right? A little bit. But that's fairly new. It's been kilesa longer than Game of Thrones has been around. But the idea of kilesa, the translation is torments of mind. When my mind is tormented by what? Past, usually. Regret. Remorse. Guilt, maybe. Unattended sorrow. Defensive posturing that we kind of are constantly drawn back to. In the here and now. It gets weird sometimes, right? I remember walking down the street one time and seeing someone and physically being angry at this person. Just don't know this person, but what happened? My perceptual database, right, reminded me of that person reminded me of someone from my past. Someone who was abusive, who was, angry, who was violent, right? And I was like, And I was like, whoa. And then this of that moment of mindfulness of like, oh, not him. And then I was able to relax and just kind of like, and have some loving kindness, some compassion. Oh, just the mind, just the critical mind actually trying to protect me, right? Super helpful. So one of the reasons why I think we do this stuff. Okay. Number one, there's something not quite right here. We call it suffering, dukkha. Another translation of dukkha is impatience. Another translation of suffering. I think this is really good around this time of year, around the holidays and whatnot, just to really think about and when I'm in impatience, what's happening? I'm suffering. When I'm in patience, what's happening? I'm generally calm. Generally. If I'm being patient, except for when we're like forcing ourselves to be patient, right? We're like impatiently patient. Oh, I'm so impatient, but I want to pretend to be patient. But it's better than not. It's better than just going flying off the handle. So the second noble truth is why? Why is this happening? Why? Craving. Self-centered craving. One way to look at it. Selfish, self-centered craving. Me, mine, mana, conceit, I am. Comparing constantly. The word for craving in Buddhist language, right, is tanha. Tanha means the unquenchable thirst. The thirst that is unquenchable. So that there's something not quite right here, that dissatisfaction is a little bit like, yeah. And that there's this constant wanting of some experience, something other than what is actually happening, right? That's why we suffer. That's what the Buddha kind of pointed out. Another way to look at these first two, I was going to wait to go all the way through, but I'll just do it now. The first noble truth is what is prescribed, or what is not the diagnosis, the ailment that they're suffering in this world is the ailment, right? So if you go see a doctor, what do they got to do? They have to diagnose you. How do they do that? Well, they're going to look at the symptoms. Old age, sickness, death, resistance, avoidance, seeking pleasure. That's the ailment. And we call it all kinds of other things, depression, anxiety, right? We do all these other labels that we put on it. But there's an ailment. What's the cause of that ailment? Some form of dissatisfaction, and then wanting things to be other than they are. And so often, I don't know, you would know for yourself, so often it's like actually this wanting things to be other than they were, right? I want things to be other than they were already. And I'm going to keep reminding myself that over and over and over again, and not actually just kind of sitting with how they were and how fucked up it was, or how beautiful it was, or how, even the good stuff we suffer over. Oh, this is not going to last. Does anyone have that kind of mind that's like always like it's just never going to last? As a, former crackhead, like literally I would be smoking crack and like thinking about how it's not going to last, and then not even enjoying it because I was so worried about what the next, and add crack with whatever the experience is, right? Sex, or the best meal, or, a night on town, going to Vegas, whatever, money, winning, right? Relationships, jobs, connections, ad infinitum. Right? So the third noble truth, there must be another way. There must be some other way than this kind of like constant push, pull, seeking pleasure, craving for satisfaction when there is no satisfaction to be had, right? There must be some other way, which maybe is the desperation, the despair, the depression, the hope, the inspiration for people to, stoop so low as to try meditation. That's what it felt like to me. It was like a defeat. Oh man, I'm gonna join the hippies. No offense, but I mean that was my mindset at the time. Oh, it took me a long time to do yoga, but I got with the meditation sooner than I got with the yoga thing. But now I like them both. I think they're amazing, and other forms. But there must be another way. So what do? We start to seek. Hopefully. Some of us don't ever seek. And this is, there's this teaching from the Buddha where like after he had become fully awakened and enlightened and like, whoa, he was like, I'm good. I'm just going to chill and fucking levitate under this tree. I mean, I don't know if he was really levitating, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm good. I've awakened to the reality of things. I'm no longer causing myself suffering. But the journey has ended for him. And then, as the teaching goes, he kind of scanned out and thought to himself, this is going to be really tough. It was really tough for me. And actually, there's this one moment where he talks about if there was two energies as strong as desire, particularly like kind of sexual or sensual desire, if there was more, because that's just one energy, and it's so strong that he almost didn't awaken. And he realized that as he was reflecting back. He's like, if there was two energies as strong as sensual desire, I might not have done it. That's how difficult this was for me. But then he began to kind of seek out and in his mind, and he thought of, I did it, so others can do it. It's possible. And then he thought of his friends, right? These 5 homies that he was chilling with in the jungle, who were pretty close. They had been doing all the crazy yoga, they've been fasting, they've been meditating, but they were Dharma soldiers. They were too rigid in their belief and in their mind and in what had to happen. So he was like, they're close. And will they be willing to listen? Right? So this is where he kind of started to formulate these Four Noble Truths. But then he was like, yeah, there's some people that have less dust in their eyes. And there's people who are just taking dust and throwing it in their eyes, right? To not see clearly. I was once teaching a teen meditation retreat, and there's this 15-year-old kid told me, he said, that's what he said. He said, it's like he had heard the story, he'd been on a couple of meditation retreats, these 5-day, a 15-year-old on a 5-day meditation retreat, silent meditation retreat. And we were having a discussion at one point, and he was like, it's like I'm taking dust and I'm throwing it in my eyes. I just don't want to see clearly, So when we can see, when we start to see when we're kind of getting distracted. All right. So the Buddha saw that. He's like, yep, I know that there's another way. I've come to see it. Can others? Yeah, let's go try. Let's just see. He was motivated by compassion, actually, to reach out, to seek out. So the fourth noble truth is the different way. It's a set of a prescription. So to flip it, the first noble truth is the ailment. The second noble truth is the diagnosis. The third noble truth is the prognosis. Prognosis is good. We can heal the mind. We can free ourselves from this constant grasping and pushing away that is causing more and more torment in our minds. It's possible. I don't even know if I believed that for several years. I was kind of just like, bullshit. Yeah, whatever. Some guy in history that has, snails crawling on his head came up with this. All right, let's see. And then I just kept, because I liked meditating. I mean, I didn't love it, but I thought it was like, I could feel some of the things that you guys described earlier. Oh, there was a shift. Oh, there was a moment of peace. Oh, it was my breath. I could actually felt a whole breath, the beginning, the middle, the end. Just one. And it was like amazing. So there was enough faith, right? Enough inspiration, enough confidence to keep going, even though I didn't buy this whole end result kind of thing. And I don't even know if I still buy the complete eradication of suffering, right? I don't know. It just doesn't seem realistic. But there's a prescription, and the prescription is simple and very challenging. I remember Ajahn Pasanno, who's basically one of my root monk elders. So actually, Noah and some of the crew are in Thailand right now visiting our lineage holders. Ajahn Amaro is one of Noah's primary teachers, and his colleague, right, is one of my primary teachers, Ajahn Pasanno, and they both ran several monasteries, both in Thailand and in Northern California. So Ajahn Pasanno once talked about this teaching, this practice, as simple and deep. That it's simple, but what can be discovered, what can be unveiled is deep, life-changing. All right, so I think what I'll do is pick it up from there next week and talk more about kind of the what is in this prescription, right? I usually I talk about the 3 and I talk about the 1 versus the 8. So you have to tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. But first, I just want to open up for questions or thoughts about what's been shared. Even just revelations you've had in this time, in the here and now.
I heard this, I was out of Baiguri this weekend.
Oh, nice.
Ajahn Pasanno was talking about
he's still there?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
There now. He was talking about the word nibbana,
yeah,
and that it was used in the time of the Buddha as just a word for cooling as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you could take a pot of rice off and nibbana it.
Yeah.
But it's a very commonplace word as well, that meant something very ordinary.
Yeah.
Also,
right. There's a
context of it.
Yeah. Which I think is cooling the flames.
Right.
Cooling the flames of suffering. Like that's what it's actually another translation and is extinguishing the flame, right? Like turning it out, nibbanaing the stove, right? Right? Or nibbanaing the fire, right? This idea of cooling, right? Taking off like you were talking about, like the rice, taking off the flame. Yeah, no, for sure. I've heard him describe that in that way too. I'm happy to hear that he's up north. I thought he was in Thailand right now.
Been back since July.
Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing that. Others, please.
I think so. I'm just trying to get into meditation. I kind of dipped into it here and there over the years.
Yeah.
I think I found myself more every time I sit down to try to do now. It's just kind of a sense of confusion. What am I doing right, or what am I supposed to be doing something that I'm not doing?
Yeah.
So then I just kind of go, well, just focus on your breath, or maybe there's many different ways to do it, or choose a mantra or something like that. And there's just a lot of different ways to do it, which I not have anxiety about what am I doing? Am I doing the right thing?
Yes. You should not have anxiety about, am I doing the right thing? My suggestion, like, don't make meditation be another thing you fucking stress yourself out about, like, or beat yourself up about, right? Don't make meditation be the another thing that you beat yourself up about, right? So just to kind of think about it that way. I mean, we give pretty simple and pretty detailed instructions here. I would say follow the instructions best you can. But I gave the instructions tonight, right? Aim the attention, connect with the experience, present time experience, breath, body, sound, and then sustain for as long as possible. And then the mind wanders off. Don't judge it. Just know it. And then bring it back with some kindness, some compassion, right? Yeah. And, you might have a mind that instead of going back to the regret, remorse, I only did half of that, by the way. The other half of us do this, and that causes suffering, and the other half do this, which is constantly worrying about the future, thinking about the next thing, is there going to be enough? Is there going to, and we're kind of future focused, right? What's it going to be like then? I know it's another strategy to avoid now. And it causes suffering. And that we have both. Right? So I didn't really get into that. And maybe I'll talk more about that next week. I got a little sidetracked. Just keep showing up too. Like that's the other thing. Keep showing up. For yourself. For your practice. Anything else? Please.
I was just going to mention this because I just think it's really weird that the first time I've been here is, well, I'd come before, but you guys weren't here or whatever, trying to find out about me here. And then I came the other night, and then I came tonight, and the two times that I've come now, it's strange because like I basically got like sort of like attacked verbally before I came here.
Oh wow.
So it was weird. Like it was almost like these people were like coming out of the woodwork to like fuck with me or something before I came here, which is, like and it's so I just think that's strange because it's like there's like this, I'm coming to try and do this good thing or whatever for myself or whatever, and then like these people are just like coming out of nowhere. Like the first time I came the other night, I went, around the corner, just to walk around.
Oh, just randoms, you mean?
Have a cigarette. Yeah, I went to have a cigarette before I came in. And so I just was going to walk around the block and come back because there was some time. And then this lady was out on the sidewalk with her dog, and like, I'm smoking, so like, I get off, I go around people.
Yeah.
And then the dog like tried to attack me, and it's weird because dogs are like really cool, especially like larger dogs. Like really after dog or something. I was like, whoa, wow, okay. I'm like, wow, that's weird. Like, I'm listening to music.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's weird. The dog tried to attack me. Dogs usually like me. And then and she was like right by the corner, like in front of his house there. And as I go around the corner, I see that there's like this other woman coming at me with like, you know, with like a flashlight or something. And I can't hear her. And I'm like, so I take out the things and I'm like, oh, can I help you? And she's like, well, what are you doing trespassing? You know, I got you on camera now. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I was being like accused of a crime.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, just because this person, you know, dog barked at me when I'm like walking on the sidewalk and going around it, like, trying to be like polite.
Yeah.
And so that was weird. And then I came in here and I, you know, like, so it like started to put me.
How long did it stay with you?
Right. So that was the thing. Is like, so I was like, oh, that's fucked up. Like, you know, like what the hell, right? And then so it was like, yeah, they were like trying to put me in this bad place when I'm like trying to be in a good place, you know. And then, so then I just came, you know, around like, you know, by the stores up here, and then came back around, and then, you know, I calmed myself down because I knew I was going to come back in here, like, and I just kind of like pushed it away. And I think, you know, like I still had the things happening for a little tiny bit when we first started to meditate, which is the same thing that happened now tonight. Like earlier, I went to.
Yeah, we don't need the story. Just so you know, we're just about out of time.
I wasn't going to tell you the whole thing.
Okay.
But the same type of thing happened. Yeah. You know, with like this negative thing.
Yeah.
And then so at first, you know, and I pushed that away before I got here, and then when I got here, like it started coming in again at the beginning of the meditation. And I pushed it away or went away or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah. So, but I just thought it was weird. That these the two times that I've come here, and these two first times that these people did this, like they're trying to destroy, like, you know, the good part or something.
And
but
you know, largely it has nothing to do with you, right? And it just has to do with that's been that experience. Hopefully, I don't think it has anything to do with us, right?
Well, yeah.
So just keep showing up. Yeah. Maybe don't walk around the neighborhood. Just come into this parking lot.
Right.
Maybe go across the street.
Yeah, I drove over here, you know,
but you know, anyway, so much of it. This is what's like
weird.
Proliferation of story, right? But the reality is that if you can come here, be here, and even if it's a difficult, I've had many, and you know, even like Carlos was talking about too, you know, like whatever's still this busyness going on that we're carrying with us.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just happened. Sometimes it's when we were 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we're still carrying it with us, right? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, drop that stupid load, right? Yeah. So I just want to invite you to keep coming back, and we can just smoke right up there. Yeah. We need to end now. So we're just about out of time. But I wanted to just say, I enjoyed this evening. Thank you for hanging in there and coming out on a cold and dark night and tuning in. And you know, this center is run on the donation of those who attend. And so there's a few different ways you can donate. You can donate via Venmo, Against the Stream Meditation.
And now we've got a new link. So againstthestream.com/donations.
Againstthestream.com/donations.
Yep.
You can go right on the website and do that. Yeah. It's helpful, to do.
Yeah, especially if you do Venmo, it's super helpful. But anything that comes in on this night.
It's not the Noah 17 one for Venmo, it's a different one.
Correct.
We're not.
The stream meditation.
Because we've got a
501c3
501c3, which allows us to have taxable donations and tax deductions and whatnot. So give what you can and help support this center to continue to be here. And if you can't afford it, then keep coming back and, come a little early and help set up the cushions, or, we'll be having more discussions of stuff like that in the future. Also, there's, we have shirts for sale. We have some pretty limited edition, actually, Rebel 8 shirts, which are pretty amazing. There's one shirt I don't have that I might actually buy it. So, yes.
Can you tell the story of Rebel 8?
So Rebel 8 is Mike Giant's. He started Rebel 8 with a few other people. Mike Giant is a graffiti artist and famous artist who became a tattoo artist as well. And and Rebel 8 actually means Rebel Eightfold Path. So it's really saying that that's the shit that we're doing here. So Rebel 8, this big company, is really is supporting the Dharma, and so that's what Rebel 8 is, a clothing company. And then they did a collab, Dharma Punks Rebel 8, and it's a pretty badass shirt. So if you're interested, we have a few left, and once they're gone, they're gone. It'll never happen again. And there's books for sale, and I'm a therapist and I work with people, so you can contact me if you're interested in that. Also work with mentoring, just like meditation, not necessarily therapeutic, but it's all kind of therapeutic to me. And may all the goodness of our practice, may this goodness be dedicated to the freedom from suffering for all beings.